Okay. I'm going to call to order the Finance Committee, October 18th. Meeting of the Finance Committee is held today, Wednesday, October 18th, 2023, at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Clemmons.
Here.
Alderman Moran.
Here.
Alderwoman Timmons. Alderman Gavea.
Here.
Alderman Camo is here. Alderman Clee.
Here.
And Mayor Donchis is not present. So we have 5 in attendance, Madam Chair.
Okay, and we have quorum. Do you want to do the also attendance?
Oh, there's a list.
I know.
Also in attendance, we have Matt Sullivan, Community Development Director, Mark Saunders from the Engineering Department, Sergeant Powers from the National Police Department. I don't see Camille, Lisa
No.
Photo from Department of Public Works,
Heidi's online.
Heidi
Peak.
Kukla is on Zoom,
And Amy Gerard.
and Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager.
Thank you. At this time, anyone here for public comment for anything that's going to be discussed this evening? Seeing none. Presentations and discussions.
We have none.
Communications.
Communication has been received from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, regarding the purchase of 2 Nissan Leafs in the amount of $56,352 funded from 81500 Vehicles/Surf. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of the 2 Nissan Leaf vehicles from Patriot Nissan in the amount of $56,352, which is $28,176 each. Funding will be through Department 173 Environmental Health Fund 81500 Vehicles/Surf.
And I think, Ms. Pete Kukla, are you here for that? You're on mute.
Sorry, I'm out of the habit of doing this, so, which is a good thing. But I appreciate the opportunity to do this tonight. It saves me a long ride home later tonight. My name is Heidi Pikakoka. I am Nashua's Health Officer, and I work in the Environmental Health Department in the Division of Public Health and Community Services.
And do you want to speak to this?
Yes, please. In total, we have 3 vehicles in environmental health, which very conveniently matches the number of inspectors that we have out in the field every day. And so one of these 2 replacement vehicles is replacing a vehicle that was totaled in a car accident. And the other one has come up for replacement on SERP. And we use these, as I said, every day for inspections, for site visits, responding to complaints, and occasionally to deliver a sample to the state public health lab, typically for rabies testing. And these are both fully electric vehicles. And I am looking forward to getting them so that we can limit what we're spending on mileage, because we are spending more than we normally do with 1 car down. And that's about it.
Okay. I know that in the past we have a delay in delivery. Do we know if this is a similar situation, or are they ready to be delivered upon purchase?
I'm not sure. Amy would be able to speak to that better than I would.
Okay.
I know that in the paperwork it says 90 plus or minus days.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Are there any questions? Seeing none? I'm
Madam
sorry.
Chair.
Alderman Clemmons?
Where do they have where are these going to be charged?
In the garage,
Overnight, I assume?
yes. Yes. We've met a couple of times to discuss this. Matt could probably give you the details better than I could, but that's what the plan is right now.
Director Sullivan, did you?
Good evening. For the record, Matt Sullivan, Community Development Director. It's an excellent question, Alderman Clemens. We're in the process of purchasing several additional electrical vehicles, and I'm sure that more will come in the future. These particular vehicles will be housed within the garage right out here. To that end, we recognize that the existing garage spaces are likely being used during the public at various times of the day and sometimes during the night, other than when the charging shuts off. And so what we're preparing to do here over the coming months, and in fact this 90-day delay or lead time benefits us here, we are preparing to install additional charging stations within the garage, specifically intended to be used for city vehicles. They'll be sort of RFID tagged, or there'll be another access system so that they're directly used for city vehicles. As more vehicles are implemented as EVs within the city hall departments, we'll actually have sort of a rotating schedule amongst those EV nozzles that are installed there. And our intent is, and you'll see a further communication from me on this in the coming month, our intent is to actually seek the funds for the installation actually through the SURF as sort of an accessory expense related to these electric vehicles that are being purchased. And so that will be coming forward, but our plan is to install additional charging stations within the garage over the coming months to address this.
Follow up?
Yeah, just one other question. Is that where those cars normally are stored now? The public health vehicles?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Just to address that quickly, that was a sensitive issue. We wanted to make sure that we weren't creating a significant walking distance or an inaccessibility to vehicles, but public health was very generous, environmental health was very generous, and we're very comfortable with accessing the garage moving forward as well. And snow storage is always an added benefit as well.
Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you, both. Seeing
you.
none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the ayes have it. Okay, communications?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve a change order number 1 for the 2023 Rehabilitation Program Contract number 3, which will add additional drainage improvement work to construct small drainage and paving improvements across the city from RWC Enterprises in the amount of $243,214.15. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater, Fund 81700, Infrastructure Improvement / Bond.
Mr. Saunders.
Good evening, Mark Saunders, Deputy City Engineer. This is for change order 1 with RWC Enterprise. RWC was the low bidder for the rehabilitation contract 3. Since the initial contract award, we have identified additional areas that could use improvements, and this change order is going to add that work to the contract. We have found these through either CCTV or they have been documented along with standing drain issues throughout the city of Nashua. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Thank you. Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? And that carries forward.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve Amendment 2 for engineering services for the design and management of the Nashua Heritage Rail Trail East project from CMA Engineers in the amount of $39,907. Funding will be through Department 180 Community Development, Fund 54210, Construction Services / Grant and Capital.
Mr. Saunders again.
Good evening, Mark Saunders, Deputy City Engineer. This is Amendment 2 with CMA Engineers. They are the support for the Heritage Rail Trail East. To give a little background on the project, this is the rail trail. This is going to go from Main Street to Denton Street. It's about 0.7 miles heading from Main Street to the east. It wraps around the Henry Hangar building. Currently, the project is in preliminary design. Through that preliminary design phase, we found that we will not be able to construct the project without having right-of-way impacts. The driving force for this amendment is to get the preliminary design over the finish line, as well as help us out with permanent easements, recording, and the survey that goes along with that task. Happy to answer any questions for this project.
Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And this motion carries.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of one 2024 Nissan Leaf vehicle from Patriot Nissan in the amount of $28,176. Funding will be through Department 186 Transportation, Fund 81500, Vehicles / Surf.
Director Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Matt Sullivan, Community Development Director. This is a purchase of one sold Nissan Leaf, identical to the other two vehicles considered this evening. This is a replacement vehicle, in fact, for a vehicle that was unfortunately totaled in an accident about a year and a half ago. And the Transit Department primarily uses this as sort of a staff and transportation vehicle, moving drivers back and forth and staff back and forth between the administration building and the transit center. We've been out without this vehicle for about a year and a half, and we've made do, but are really anxious to replace it. Obviously, we have charging infrastructure in place at the transit administration building, so that's not an issue with this particular purchase, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions? Alderman Gouvet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The one question I have, and you kind of brought it up, is you went a year without this car, and now you want to go and get it back. Is it just not sustainable to do it without a new vehicle, or?
So that's a great question. So the two vehicles that we have over at the Transit Department that are not non-fleet vehicles, AKA for actually taking riders back and forth, we have one supervisor vehicle that's actually used to provide support in the event that a rider gets stranded or someone needs a direct one-on-one ride to a location due to a fleet issue or something to that effect. So that vehicle needs to be available if something happens out in the road or a bus goes down for repair. This secondary vehicle that we've gone without, that we're seeking to replace, frankly, one of the reasons is we actually have Federal Transit Authority funding available to us to replace the vehicle. But the more important part is that for our staff down, the NTS staff down at the administration building, they're using personal vehicles to go back and forth to meetings at City Hall. They're doing it to go to meetings in other communities. We'd like to move away from that approach. So that's how we've gotten by, but we're anxious to have one vehicle that's dedicated to this moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Are you all set?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And that motion carries.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of a mobile column lift 4-post from ARI Phoenix Incorporated in the amount of $43,625.23. Funding will be through Department 186, Transportation, Fund 81200, Buildings and Improvements.
And I guess that's you again, Director Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Matt Sullivan, Community Development Director. This is the replacement of an existing 4-column mobile lift within the Transit Department maintenance garage. This is a piece of equipment that experiences significant wear as our buses are actually lifted in the air down at the garage. Repairs are done, constantly being exercised throughout the day as issues arise with our vehicles. This is simply a replacement of those through RE Phoenix Incorporated. We're familiar with this product and this vendor. We've used it before. I also know Director Foto and her team over in their fleet maintenance department are familiar and comfortable with this product as well. So we're happy to move forward with it. Obviously, limited submissions as part of the bid process, but very pleased to move forward with this product and happy to answer any questions about it that I can.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed?
Thank you.
And that motion carries.
Madam Chair,
Thank
I'd like to make a motion to approve the renewal of Central Square for the dispatch and record system from TriTech Software Systems in the amount of $85,962.25. Funding will be through Department 150, Police Department, Fund 54407, Software Maintenance / General Fund.
Ms. Smith.
Hi, Karen Smith, National Police Department. And this is a annual renewal for software maintenance for our records management for the CAD RMS system. We are currently going out to bid, looking for a replacement system, but until that process, which can take 12 to 18 months for us to get through, we do need to renew the current software maintenance.
Okay, are there any questions? Alderman Gouveia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you're saying you want to move away from this. Is there a reason? Is it price point? Is it usability? What's the purpose for going out to bid and finding a new program to use?
It's outdated and needs to be renewed.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And aye, and those opposed? And that motion carries.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of a 42 GT SCS NABCO Total Containment Vessel TCV bomb trailer from NABCO Systems LLC in the amount of $371,589.57. Funding will be through Department 150, Police Department, Fund 81500, Vehicles / Surf.
Hi.
Good evening, I'm Sergeant Powers of the National Police Department Hazardous Device Unit. The purpose of this replacement is to replace our current single-vent bomb disposal trailer. It's extremely old technology, and it was actually donated over 20 years ago when the police department received it. It's going to be replaced by much newer explosive safety and chemical containment technology.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you very much, Sergeant. Unfinished business,
There's none.
tabled in committee,
There's none.
new business resolutions.
Madam Chair, before us is R23-167, approving the city's participation in the New Hampshire Public Works Mutual Aid Program and authorizing the related mutual aid and assistance agreement. I'd like to make a motion to recommend final passage.
Okay, thank you, and I believe Director Photo is here to speak to this.
I am. Good evening. Lisa Photo, Director of Public Works. With me also is Director Marticello, who may want to come up and share some information. But the New Hampshire Public Works Mutual Aid Program is a network of municipalities that assist one another during emergencies. This program has helped numerous communities repair and restore damaged infrastructure. This is probably something we should have done long ago. This is much like police, fire, our building department currently has in place. And almost all cities in New Hampshire participate, including the city of Manchester and Pennachuck actually also. The key here is that this is only for emergencies. This is not to help with projects or anything like that. And it's very short-term assistance. This has been approved by the AG's office, by our legal office, and also by the Board of Public Works. It's completely voluntary. If we're busy, we don't need to send anybody. It's completely at our discretion if we can help. But with the extreme weather that we've been having, tornadoes, all of the rain that we've had, ice storms, things of that nature, I think this is something important to have in place because we're not immune to having an emergency in our own community where we probably could use some assistance. So this is also another, I think, key important thing, and Emily can speak more to that, is that if a federal emergency is declared, this will help facilitate FEMA reimbursement, since reimbursement is often contingent upon a pre-existing signed New Hampshire Public Works municipal agreement. So that's another benefit to this. So,
Thank you.
and I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Any question for Director Photo?
Well,
Alderman
no
Ryan.
question, but a statement.
You have a statement.
Should we wait until everyone
I was
asks
going to say, if
questions?
you wouldn't mind for Director Marcella to speak first.
Is there anything you wanted to add, Emily?
I'll just add a couple
Okay.
things here. Lisa
Thank you.
stole my thunder. So Emily Marticello, Director of Emergency Management. So yes, we have emergencies here. So I briefly want to talk about disaster recovery. When we have a disaster, the key to recovery is resources. So we have a lot of resources in the city, but when something happens, and it will happen, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, we are going to need resources. So having this mutual aid agreement in place will give us parity with police and fire who have these agreements in place. And those give us a couple things. One, it also comes with liability coverage. Having all of this in place through these mutual aid agreements gives us all this liability coverage that we would need. It also, like Lisa mentioned, helps us with reimbursement and cost recovery. But we also have a saying in disasters, when there's an emergency, it's not time to exchange business cards. We don't have time to put agreements in place during an emergency. We need to use our sunny days like this to prepare for our rainy days. So I really agree with Lisa. It's kind of past time that the city of Nashua, we were probably on borrowed time for getting this agreement in place so that when we need, and I'll say this when, we will end up using this, when we need assistance from our partners, we have all of our ducks in a row to bring in additional resources in an orderly fashion that then is going to allow us to do that disaster cost recovery.
Thank you. Alderman Moran.
I think this is a wonderful idea. Obviously, I co-sponsored it when they asked for additional sponsors. I think when Public Works joins that type of response that the fire and PD already have, kind of also touches on that key piece of climate change where we're expecting you guys to do more and more and more. Having mutual aid to help respond to crises like that is going to be great for the city. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? I'm just going to add to what Alderman Moran had said. I too agree that this is, and I spoke to Director Photo very briefly just before the meeting, and I agree it is time to. oftentimes, as I was saying to her, we hear from the public saying, why should we give mutual aid for free and so on? But if we look at our fire and police reports, we get mutual aid too. So it comes, we give, we get, and I think this is a great program, and Director Photo had reminded me, recently we had all those tornado warnings that were going through, and if they had hit us, we would have been in big, deep doo-doo. So having something like this, tornadoes tend to come through one area and don't always hit every other area, so to be able to use other people's resources or to help others that are in need, and considering the floods that have been happening throughout just the city here as well as throughout the state where roads are washed out and so on, it would be nice to be able to have something of that kind of nature. So I think this is a good idea, and thank you so much for bringing it forward. Having said that, are there any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. And that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
New business ordinances,
There are none.
records of expenditures.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinances pertaining to the record of expenditures for the period of September 15th, 2023 to September 28th, 2023.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make another motion that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinances pertaining to the record of expenditures for the period of September 29th, 2023 to October 12th, 2023.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? And both of those are carried. General discussion. Public comment?
Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. I wanted to just give you a little input on audits. There is an RSA 21J:19 that requires that all audits done by a city have to be completed within 12 months. They just passed new legislation, which is RSA 21J:20-A, that says failure to commit an audit, to produce an audit for the DRA and the citizens within 90 days after the 12-month deadline will result in a $250 fine every day thereafter. The city did not comply with the state statute to complete the audit, and that was inexcusable. And the information given to me by the mayor was all of a lie. The document provided was a draft document, not a final document. It was full of errors, and quite frankly, this city does not allow preliminary draft material to be released. It has been exempted and denied from me for 4 years. And that night, you handed out a draft document without identifying it a draft document that was full of errors, at least 40 pages, that went well beyond just a formatting problem, because it wasn't completed, and there was no audit done. You didn't live up to the state statute, and you didn't do it correctly. I would hope that we have an audit done for 2023 in December this year. Secondly, I want to address Derek Tebow's comments. I find that man to be a complete moron. Okay, he is always talking and bad-mouthing citizens who challenge him. And he says, if there's problems with the finances, why isn't it called out? Why hasn't somebody stepped in? Well, to let you know, we filed with the FBI. The FBI does not respond to you when you send one in. We filed with the Attorney General's office. It's with the Public Integrity Unit under investigation. But these things take time. It took the DRA 20 months to level charges. And on top of that, you have a whistleblower in City Hall. Rosemary Evans has been on the phone to me, calling me and disclosing for hours what is going on in that finance office, and she has 23 years of experience. She better get herself a lawyer and not go to the city and count on them to cover her. Get herself whistleblower protection, because every call and every detail she has provided me, I have documented and given to the FBI, the state, and I've also disclosed these legal matters with Judge Temple, who is required to disclose as well. It's been also sent to a number of Washington federal agencies. And County Attorney John Coughlin returned a call in 24 hours and
30
said he would
seconds.
make certain it was in the hands of the Attorney General's office. So for Derek Tebow to sit here and say, I omit information, or why hasn't somebody done anything? Because, Derek, it's going to take probably 2 years to clear this up. That's what it takes. And I believe your whistleblower. And your whistleblower has said there's a lot of things wrong, and that loan was not properly recorded. You have not managed your books correctly. And I was told by her that her and Mr.
Time's up.
Griffin will be resigning should the mayor win again.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none. I lost my place here. Remarks by the Alderman. Seeing none, Alderman Clemmons, do you have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye. And the Finance Committee is adjourned at 7:27.